So I've been making kefir water for about 2 months. We all like it. I like it, Matt likes it, the girls like it, Austin even likes it. So I know it's something that I will continue to make. And when I first heard about kefirs many years ago, and it was dairy kefir though. So dairy kefir is reminiscent, or think of buttermilk, kind of like that wangy kind of taste. Different, it's not buttermilk, but kind of that's what it puts you in the mind of. And that wasn't something I really cared for, nor something I could make a lot, because I don't have fresh milk. I don't have access to fresh dairy like a lot of people do. I would love to, but I don't have. So I knew nothing about kefir water until about 2 months ago, maybe 2.5 months ago. We went to eat with one of our friends, invited us over for supper, delicious, beautiful supper, beautiful family, and she served kefir water. And it was delicious. It was so good that I think between me and Corey and Katie, we drank it all. It was like a blueberry lime. It was so good, so good. So that kind of put us on the journey of the kefir water. Corey and I began to research. We definitely wanted to figure out how to make it for our family, and we did all kinds of research, watched videos, read things. Of course, we asked our friend a million questions, and then we started on our kefir journey. Now, what kefir is, what we're actually making it from, think of like a fermented water. Fermentation is what it is. So the little granules that you get, they are actually made from bacteria and yeast. So that's what starts, what kind of builds your ferment. Kind of similar to, you think of all the other kind of fermented things, whether you're fermenting green beans or kraut or something that uses those wonderful bacteria from the air to ferment, or something like sourdough. So the first granules that Corey and I got is kefir granules, is what people call it, what it's called. They were really tiny, almost like sand. And we tried them for a day or two, or maybe a week. We give them, I guess, about a week, and it just was, it was just nothing that we couldn't, there wasn't many bubbles. We couldn't get the taste right. It was just something we didn't care for. So I went back to our researching and started finding where a lot of people said you got to start with big grains. It really depends on where you get your kefirs from, your kefir grains from. So we went back to the drawing board. I found these. This is the brand and what I used, and I'll put the link in the description below, but Florida Sun Kefir. They come in these little, you can see, kind of like little condiment things you might get from a restaurant, just little plastic things. And right from the start, they worked so much better. And the ones that I ordered, they come with all kinds of information about how to ferment, and give you little, almost like a little recipe card, and told you exactly how to do it, and different amounts for how much you were using, all that kind of stuff. Very helpful. I think they may even have a website where you can go and even learn more. So in the beginning, when we first started with those, the fermentation, what they recommended was to have that bacteria and that yeast, have them ferment something. They've got to have something to eat. They've got to have something, and sugar is the best thing. So they advised adding sugar, and then also adding sorghum or molasses. Molasses is what they suggested. I've used sorghum. So we did that and mixed it all up, just like the directions said, and then poured it in, and then let it set, and that's how we started making them. And we liked it from the beginning. We've tried all kinds of different flavors and kind of settled on a few that we really like. I'll tell you more about those in a minute. But it was much different. You could really see the action, see the bubbles working. So we were pleased with them from the beginning. And we made those using the sorghum and the sugar, and just continued to make them each day, every 3 or 4 days, whatever we were doing, and trying different flavors. Well, as we got more sure of making them and felt good about it, then I started wondering, do I really need to add sorghum to it? For one thing, I like to put sorghum on my biscuits. I like to save it for that. So I thought, do I really need to do that? So I just started using sugar. I thought, I'll just see what happens. I'll get rid of the sorghum, use the sugar. So I did that, and they continued to do good. And the great thing about if you like them like we do, the great thing about it is those little grains, as they eat, they multiply. So you get more and more and more and more. So I've got like a whole collection here of jars, and they all have, in the bottom of, especially the big ones, there's probably more than what I bought to begin with, but I have multiple jars with that, so they grow. So if you have someone that a friend or something, you could definitely share those grains with them. That would be great to do. And in one of the videos where we were talking about it, a subscriber said, you know what else you can do with them? You can feed them to your chickens. And I thought, oh my goodness, really? So I tried it, and my chickens loved them. So any excess I have, I don't really have anyone to share them with right now. Maybe I will in the future. I feed them to my chickens, so that works out really well. One other thing we tried about the time that I got rid of the sorghum was I read that you could use, I think it come with the instructions, or maybe I've seen it in the video, or maybe both, but you could also use coconut water. So we tried that. We tried putting the grains in coconut water. We did not like that. Now, I'm a coconut fan. I love coconut, but I couldn't do that. That was just too much. It was too strong, so we didn't like it. So probably if you want to get into kefir water, the best thing I could say is to do like we did. Just get some and then play with it and try this and try that and try this and see what works for you. Another thing that we didn't know in the beginning, and the ones I ordered never said anything about it, but a lot of people on my videos have said, no, don't use metal. Well, we didn't know not to use metal. We used it from the beginning, and it's not hurt our kefir grains at all. So I don't know if it's a certain kind that it hurts, or if if they were slower at fermenting, maybe it would make a difference, but it's not made one for us. So my sieve that I use every week is metal. I use my metal spoons, all that. And that's not really bothered ours. But again, you just need to probably do some research and then also experiment with it if you want to try to make kefir water. Another thing that I changed as we were learning and going away, like I said in the beginning, I went by those directions and I really stirred everything up in my big mixing bowl and made sure all the sugar was dissolved and all that before I actually poured it over the grains, and then give it another good stir. Well, of course, I'm like everybody else, time is at a premium. So one day I thought, do I really need to do that? Couldn't I just put some sugar in there and put some water in there and stir it up and see what happened? So I did, and it worked okay for me. So now I don't even do that. I just put the sugar directly in the jar once I pour off the first ferment. I'll explain that in just a moment, and stir it up that way and start my new jar. So I don't even bother doing it in a different thing, and that's worked out okay for me. But again, you might want to test that if you try to. So as far as once you get your little grains in a jar and you fill them with water, and either mix your sugar before or put it in there, or whether you're going to use sorghum or if you're going to use molasses or whatever you're going to use. I've heard some people say they used raisins. Then you set it, you want to put a lid on it that it's okay if it breathes. You can see that I've got some paper towels just with rubber bands. That's okay. It doesn't have to be tight. And then you set them over in your, wherever you're going to set them. And then how long you let them sit there is kind of, again, it's up to you. In the beginning, we only kind of let them sit there for 24 hours. Then maybe in the very beginning, with those first grains, we went 3 or 4 days, and then we thought, was that why we don't like them? But we never did see bubbles, so we had to keep waiting. That's one way for you to know. I'll hold this jar up. I hope that you can see. Once I just barely shake it, you can see bubbles, bubbles, bubbles coming up. A lot of the times around the top edge, bubbles will kind of congregate right there. So that's how you know that it's ready. Now this has been sitting over on my counter for probably 3 days because, for one thing, I'm doing so much that I really couldn't do it every day. I mean, I'd run out of, even though we're drinking it, we can't drink that much, in other words. So I'm letting mine sit more than that. And that's something, again, you'd need to test and see. If you want to let it sit less, 24 hours for a lot of people is plenty fine. And after 24 hours, my bubbles are there. So I could go ahead right then and do it. But I didn't, time again is at a premium. So that's your schedule, kind of, you'll have to work that out too. Now, if you wanted to, like today, I could drain this off of one of my jars and drink it straight. You don't have to flavor it. This is kind of the first ferment when you actually put the grains in the water, or put them in a jar, fill it with water, with sugar, with whatever you're going to put in there for it to eat. And that's the first ferment. So once you see bubbles, you know it's working. Now, then you could be done right there. You could just drink the water if you wanted to. And it's not horrible. It doesn't taste horrible, but it doesn't taste as good as the flavored ones either. To me, it tastes kind of like a yeasty ferment, because I have tasted it. But I much prefer the way that we do it is that the second, so then today what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour all the liquid off that's been fermenting, and then I'm going to flavor it with something. Then you could flavor it with something and go ahead and drink it right then, or put it in your refrigerator or whatever. But we flavor it, and then we set those flavor jars back over on my buffet over there, and we'll leave them until tomorrow until they get bubbly. Sometimes it takes 2 days, and I think as the weather has got cooler, I've noticed it taking a little bit longer, but your house may be different. But and a good thing to do is just to taste it. So with those first ones, when we were letting it get too strong, we were just like, we can't, this is horrible. This is, ugh, who would want to drink this? We were just comparing it to the wonderful taste of the blueberry one that we'd tasted at our friend's house. So that's, again, your taste is going to be different. So after I get them all mixed up and I leave them over there for a day, I taste them. I get a spoon and taste, think, oh, that's really good, they're done. Or, not so good, I'm going to leave them another day. So that's another thing that you can kind of play with. And when it comes to that second ferment and flavoring the water with anything, pretty much the sky's the limit. We've tried a lot of things. We tried the blueberry because that's what we liked so much at our friend Jamie's house. I've never accomplished it to where we liked it. I've asked her a dozen times, probably different things, or not asked her a dozen times, but between her and researching, probably looked at a dozen different blueberry recipes for kefir water, and it just never works out somehow. So kind of the ones that we've settled on that we really like. Our favorite one is lemon and ginger. And I've tried just lemon balm from the yard, and that was really good. But the lemon and ginger combination, we really love that one. Pineapple. Matt loves to eat pineapple, so I usually have some fresh pineapple. So him and Corey really love the pineapple. That's their favorite. Another one that Corey and Matt really like is orange. I just bought oranges from the store and quartered them up and put them in there, and they really loved that one. One of my favorite ones, I don't know if anybody likes it as much as I do, but back in the summer, my dear friend Jim Cassida shared some grapes, some Scuppernong grapes with me. I've already got some cut up for today. So I was, of course, making kefir water, and I thought, well, I've got to try that. So I did, and I love it. The grape is, it'd be close between the grape and the ginger, which is my favorite. So since he gave me so many, of course, we made jelly and we made some grape juice. I don't know how many of them by myself. But then the rest of them I just froze solid and put in the freezer. And then I've just been pulling them out. So this is some that I got out this morning and thawed up in a little bit of water. So that's one that I really like. A lot of people have given different suggestions, and blueberry is one of the common ones. But for some reason, I just hadn't got it there yet. Now, when you think about fermenting, one of the things that a few people have asked me that comes up, whether it's like kefir water or if you're a kombucha fan, is people often wonder, does it have alcohol? Are you making alcohol? Well, there's a lot of research on that, and you can certainly read it. And I'll link to a website I found below that's really great about kind of the different things that people worry about kefir water. I'll link to that, and you can go research further. But basically, to ferment to the point that you had strong alcohol, that's like you think of making wine or beer or something. That takes a long period of time, not just 24 hours or whatever, or even 48 hours. So if there is alcohol content, it's almost not even there. But again, if that's something you've got to be careful about, then you need to make sure that people worry about that with kombucha and with the kefir water. But it's not like you're making, certainly it doesn't taste alcoholic or anything like that. It's not like you're making wine or making a type of beer or anything. So one of the other things that we tried that was kind of strange, and we only tried it once, but we did like it, but we've not made it again, and it was actually Corey that made it, but it was a vanilla bean. She just got a vanilla bean and kind of opened it up and put it in there. It flavored it very nicely, kind of tasted like a cream soda or something, but it didn't get very bubbly. I've noticed that there's certain things that get real bubbly. The grapes and the pineapple, they both just even instantly almost, you can start seeing bubbles in there. So I'm sure I'm not a scientist or a specialist in food, but I'm sure that's something to do with the natural whatever is in fruits. Maybe even some of the bacteria that's on the outside of the grapes. So when it comes to things to add, it's kind of like, again, it's me and Corey have really felt like she's been the one that's helped me with it the most. We've all enjoyed drinking it, but Corey's helped me the most. We kind of feel like we're a wizard in the kitchen, trying this, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, which has been neat. And we've kind of though now settled on I usually make the pineapple, the ginger, and the lemon balm, and then the grape. My grapes are going to run out. One thing I am interested in making from some of those same grapes that Jim shared, and then also my brother Steve shared his grapes, and then I had grapes, I canned grape juice, so I'm interested in using it. A lot of the recipes will suggest if you're going to use juice that you use maybe 1/4 of a cup or something like that, and then the rest kefir water. But again, that might be something you just have to play with, and I've not even done that yet, but that's one that I'm interested in playing with. And when along with my little kefir grains that come, they sent, I think I've got them right here. They sent little bags, and I'm sure you can purchase these because they only sent 3 or 4. So you could put all your fruit or whatever it is that you want inside that bag and then put it down inside the jar. And we've not done that. We ain't even done it once. I didn't even use one of the, I think they sent 3. I've not even used them. We've just been putting all of ours just in the jar. Well, what that means is when it ferments, then you could strain that out and put it in the refrigerator, or you could do like us and we just put it all in the refrigerator, and then every time we're going to get a drink, we kind of, I've got a little bitty, where is that? A real small sieve, so a lot of times we just pour over this and we kind of catch the pineapple or whatever it is. But it certainly would be easier if you drained it all, or if you used the little bags. That would work well too. So another thing, when we do the second ferment, like I said, it doesn't matter for these, I'm using the paper towel. For that second ferment, I do put a lid on it that tightens it down. I've got these lids that are like fermenting lids that they'll release the gas, so I don't use those on the second ferment. I use just a lid. I screw on either a cannon lid, or I've got some lids that fit cannon jars. I use them. But if you wanted to, you could actually use a bottle like a kombucha bottle. It's a lot of times what they call them. So it has a snap top lid, so that once you fill it and then you fasten it down really, really tight, the fermentation can really set up in there. And then when you open it, it'll actually, you can watch videos, it'll actually bubble out on you. It really gets the carbonation from the fermentation. We've not done that any. We've found that we like it just by using the lid. It doesn't get like to the point like a Coke or something that would, foam out on you. It's not like that at all. But it is enough that you can kind of taste it. It's kind of bubbly in your mouth. And that's part of the appeal. A lot of people that make kefir water, it's like natural soda, they call it. It's like a natural soda. So that's part of the appeal, that you feel like you're getting something like Coke or whatever it is that kind of has a little bit of the bubbly and certainly has the flavor, but it's also good for you. Those little granules of bacteria and stuff is just supposed to, and the kefir water, once it ferments, is just like kraut and all the other things, full of probiotics that are really good for your gut health. And since those little beans, little grains, they eat the sugar, so it's not like it's overly sweet like you do think of a Coke or something like that. It's not overly sweet. With that second ferment, though, I do add a little bit of additional sugar, and that gives because even when I pour this off, some of those probiotics and those bacteria will, even though I'm not using the granules again, they will come off in the water. So then I'll give it a little bit more sugar to feed on overnight or even for 2 nights, till whenever we decide it's ready to drink. Okay, so now that I've kind of explained all that, I'm going to start actually showing you how we would make, I won't do all this, but we'll make at least a little bit. So I take off my little paper towel. I've got my sieve here, and I'm just going to drain off the liquid. And so this jar is getting pretty full with those little grains, so I may not put them all back in it. And I just kind of, and the smell is really yeasty. It almost smells like I'm baking bread or something. So I'm going to go ahead and put some back in, and maybe some of them I'll give the chickens a snack today. Oh, and I did forget one other thing. You're thinking, well, gosh, Tipper, do you have to do this every day or even every 3 or 4 days? What if I go on vacation? Will they all die like your sourdough starter, if you've ever had one of those die on you? What you can do, if there's a day that, and you should do this, I think the directions that come with my little grains said about every 4 ferments, you should drain them off, just like I'm doing right now. Put them in a jar like I'm doing. Don't put any liquid on them, and put them in the bottom of your refrigerator. And that kind of lets them rest. And then when you bring them back out and start them again, it kind of gives them a boost, I guess is how they would say it. Oh, and here I am putting them all back in there. I said I was going to save some for my chickie-doos. I need a bowl, though, to put them in. Let's see if I can find one. Oops. So if you're going on vacation, or if you're just tired, or maybe you're just not drinking it, you could always just put them in the refrigerator and let them rest. And I think in the directions, maybe it said for 48 hours, but to be honest with you, I've let some of mine sit longer than that and they were just fine. So now, let's see, let's start with my grapes. I don't know, let's do it. And you could use any kind of jar. I like these big half-gallon ones because, like I said, we really enjoy them. But so I've got, and the amount of stuff that you put in, again, you just kind of need to see what works best for you. So this is probably, I guess, 3/4 of a cup of the grapes, and I've just cut them in half is all I've done. And again, you could put them in one of those little bags if you wanted to. So I've got some raw sugar here, and you could, I've not tried using honey. People have asked me that. I'm not going to put all that. I'm going to put some of that. But I don't know about honey, if you could use that or not. Of course, you could use the sorghum, because that's what I was using with that, but I don't know if you'd want to flavor it with that. It depends on how much you liked molasses, I guess. Instead of making a big mess, I'm just going to do it a little bit at a time. Okay, maybe I got it low enough that that I won't spill it. We'll see.
Great.
Okay. And then I'm going to take I've been using just a big spoon here. Put that back. And just give it a good stir. Just my white lids, and I'm going to close it up really tight and just set it back over there, and then tomorrow we'll see if it's ready or if it takes 2 days. Now for the next one, let's see, well first I'm going to go ahead and show you how I would do this one. This is the one I'm going to restart. So again, in the beginning I was really picky about doing exactly the amount of sugar that they suggested, but now I just kind of eyeball it and go for it. And then I'm going to fill it up with water. Okay, now I've got it filled up. I'm going to give it a stir with my big spoon. Put my rubber band and my paper towel back over it. And now it's ready to set again for a few days until I'm ready to make kefir water again. Oh, let's get us more going. The next one. You can just, I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but you can really hear the bubbliness. It's bubbling, fizzing. The rest for the chickens. Okay, another thing that I changed as I went along, so there's all kinds of videos too, so I would suggest you research like we did and see what works best for you. But when I was doing the ginger, I peeled it. I peeled every little piece off of it. And then one day I was in a hurry and I thought, why am I peeling it? Why do I care? I wonder how it would be if I don't peel it, if we would like it just as good, and we do. So I quit peeling it. And as far as, again, it kind of depends on how much ginger you want, but I would at least put, you know, for a container, I'm going to use this container. For a container like this, I'd at least put, you know, 1/4 of a cup, if not more. And it smells so good. I love ginger. And as far as how to chop them up, I've done it in dices, like diced them up kind of, and then I've done them in rounds, and both work fine. Both of them work fine. And then Corey went out for me in the garden. We're going to have a hard freeze tonight, so this may be the last of my lemon balm that's fresh. I could use dried, but and got us some lemon balm leaves. Another thing I got this morning on my way back from letting the chickens out early this morning, I seen these little strawberries that were, they're not fully ripe, but I thought I can't leave them out there and let them freeze tonight, so I brought them in. I'll probably put them in with the pineapple though. So then I've got my jar. I'm just going to drop my ginger down in there. Drop me I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 leaves. Just a little bit of sugar, about a spoonful. And then I'm ready to fill this one up. So I'm going to need more to go in that one. So I'm going to set it, let's see, right here while I empty one of my others. Okay. Stir it all up. Put my lid on it, and that one's ready. Now for the last one I'm going to make today, I'm going to use the pineapple that Matt and Corey love. So again, I'm just going to drop me some pineapple down in there. Probably, well, I don't know if that's a 1/2 cup. I guess about a 1/2 cup, maybe a little bit more. Oh, and I'm going to put the strawberries. I'll put my few little strawberries just to use them. That wasn't really ripe. And I need to get my kefir water. Now that I've added it, I just need to stir it up. Find me a lid for this one. And set it off to the side. Okay, now that's an overview of the kefir water making. I showed you how I added the sugar and refilled the jars. That's what I'll do with all these now. And then I've got all those sitting for tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll show you how many bubbles, or if it's the next day, I'll let you know how long it takes. And then we'll be able to drink them and enjoy them. But before I wanted to see if I could show you one of the little grains really up close. Woo, I about dropped it. See if you can see it. There. So it does kind of look like a piece of rock salt or something, except it's not hard. It's really like gelatinous, I guess, really kind of jelly-like. And I ended up with enough to feed my chickens too, so that's really great. So tomorrow or the next day, whenever it happens, I'll be sure to show you how these turn out. So it's been 24 hours since I made the kefir. This was the pineapple, and you can see how bubbly it is, and kind of, as I move it, see stuff floating around. As I shake it, you can, I don't know if it shows up, but you can see little bitty bubbles coming up through there, kind of like a carbonated drink. Here's the grape. In the same way, if I shake it, you can kind of see stuff. Whoops, and I'm spilling it as I shake it. Shouldn't shake it. But you can see the bubbles right up there around the top. And before I carried it over here, it had a thicker, more like the pineapples. And it does seem like the fruit produces more fermentation. But anyway, you can see that. That's the grape. And this is the ginger and the lemon balm. So there's not as much bubbles in it, but there are a few, but not near as many as the ones with the fruit. We've noticed they really produce the most bubbles. But if we put the ginger and the lemon balm in a closed container, airtight, I think the bubbles would happen there too. So now I'm going to taste it and see if I think it's good enough to put in the refrigerator and we'll start drinking it, or if I think it needs to last a little bit longer. I mean, to sit a little bit longer. So we'll start with my favorite, which is the ginger. And give it a stir. That's why it's my favorite. So good. It's good. You can taste the ginger. You can also really taste the lemon from the lemon balm. It's just light, kind of light. Just a great taste. I really enjoy that one. So I'm going to deem that one good and ready to go. Put that spoon over. Now I'm not as crazy about the pineapple as Matt and Corey are. And there's we put those little strawberries that was going to get froze last night. And we did have a freeze, so they would have definitely got froze. So we'll see what this one tastes like. I can even see bubbles in my spoon. Pretty good. It's pineapple-y, so if you like pineapple, Matt and Corey really love that one. And here's the one, this is the grape one that next to the ginger, it's my favorite, but I'm going to run out of grapes because these are those wonderful Scoopernong grapes that Jim Cassidy shared with me. And you can see a lot of the seeds have come out of the grapes. That's okay. So good. So good. Again, if you tighten it down with airtight, you'll get even more bubbles. But we found this is enough. I mean, we're okay with this without doing the bottles. And I've noticed, once I put it in the refrigerator, like I said, you could strain the pineapple out, strain the grapes out, strain the lemon balm and ginger out, but we just leave it in there because it does continue to slowly ferment even though it's cold until you drink it all. Of course, we're drinking it pretty quick. But I've noticed sometimes when I get one out and I open the jar, I can hear a little fizz, just like with, if you're drinking a Coke or something like that. So it does continue a little bit inside, but you could certainly go ahead and drain out or strain out all those little seeds and the grapes. So I'm going to put these in the refrigerator and we can be enjoying them. So just to kind of wrap up what we've talked about, again, I'm no expert. This is just what I've found that works well for my family over the last 2 months. And I do think it's something I'll keep doing because we really enjoy it. And not only does it taste good, we all kind of feel like it's making us feel better. It's not like, I wouldn't say like a miracle cure or anything like that for us, but I think we all feel the same way, that somehow it's helped our digestion, which is what probiotics are supposed to do. And if this makes sense, since I started drinking it, I feel lighter. I feel, I guess, less bloated is what it is. I kind of feel, I don't know, I feel easier in my whole digestive tract. So for us, we really do think, now this is about 2 months that we've been drinking it, that somehow it helps us. And that's what probiotics generally, what people say that they will do for you, that they will help your digestion, that they will help with bloat, they will help you kind of feel lighter. So on a health front, it does seem like it's helped us, but mostly we just enjoy the taste. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how I make kefir water for my family. Please leave any kind of variations you use or any tips or tricks that you use that other people would want to know about. And as always, I hope you'll drop back by often and help me celebrate Appalachia.